Can you give some examples of companies that have been accepted either in Europe or other places that have ended up being good VC returning models?
Yeah, there's lots. Since 2021 alone, we've been tracking liquidity events in Europe, and there's been $11 billion worth of exit events. And obviously, the last few years haven't necessarily been great, but that's just in Europe alone in the last 4 years. But some of the biggest standout success stories have been some of the biggest VC returns ever. There's a company called the Trade Desk, which IPO'd in 2016. Earlier this year, the market cap was $60 billion. A lot of generalist VCs have never heard of it. AppLovin, recently surpassed $100 billion valuation. That's effectively an ad tech business monetizing mobile apps and mobile games. A bunch of companies that went public in 2021. PE is really moving into the space. You're seeing a lot of 9-figure, PE deals. So there's a lot of activity. I do understand that it might be a slightly different flavor of VC and a slightly different sport to the typical Silicon Valley kind of unicorn hunting approach.
How so, Rich?
So there's so much consolidation in the space. There's a huge amount of M&A activity, and that generally happens at a price tag of between $50 million and $250 million. And so if you're a large fund and you really are looking for unicorns or decacorns, then it might not be the best category for you. And we're honest with our LPs about that. However, for us, relatively small fund sizes and backing capital efficient companies that shouldn't need to raise Series B, C, D to try and IPO for $1 billion should be able to, get to profitability at Series A. So then, we should still be the lead investor, not be diluted, not be at the bottom of a horrible press stack. So if that company has, an M&A outcome in the 50 to 250 million range, and we invested at a valuation of 2, 3, 4, 5 million, we should be doing really well. But it, wouldn't necessarily move the needle for a 500 million or $1 billion fund.
At least two very big things happening in ad tech, I imagine. One is the potential Google breakup. Let's see what happens there. Could be interesting to hear your thoughts on that. And the other is, of course, AI.
Yeah, absolutely. So, we've got a slide here which talks to two of those points and a few others as well that we think are key. But yes, it was really interesting to see that the Department of Justice has ruled for the second time that Google has been running a monopoly in digital ads. We'll see what the exact remedies are. There's obviously a lot of speculation, but ultimately, look, any form of divestiture or opening up of the Google ecosystem, which could be selling off key parts of the stack, or it could be allowing third-party ad tech to access YouTube inventory. There's a bunch of different things that could happen, but whichever way you cut it, at some point there is going to be a lot of additional opportunity for, non-Google ad tech here. So, and that is something that even the more generalist, VC or investor community is obviously very aware of. Everyone's heard of Google and knows how big of an advertising platform it is. So we think that there could be, who knows, tens of billions, if not hundreds of billions of dollars worth of additional value created for, other tech companies in the kind of advertising and media space off the back of that breakup.
And how about AI? Everyone is thinking, like we're now thinking, if I'm not doing SEO anymore, am I doing AI engine optimization? Is that what I need to be focusing on? I think we can all see how our behavior on the internet is changing given AI, a completely new search experience. How are you thinking about that? What are you seeing happening to the market? Does it disrupt this whole thinking around 50% of the market being captured by very few incumbents? And of course, also what new models arise. But let's start on what happens to the incumbents.
Yeah, it's a good question. And it is definitely moving very fast. We are starting to see more and more companies coming through with those kind of AI native businesses. I'd say a slight word of caution, though. We're always a little skeptical of jumping on the latest bandwagon and buzzword. We kind of passed on a lot of Web3 opportunities and metaverse ads opportunities a few years ago.
Are you happy about that?
When that was popular, yes, so far so good on that front. But look, AI clearly is going to be transformative for all industries. I feel like ad tech is already quite advanced in terms of its machine learning capabilities. Obviously, trillions and trillions of ad requests going out all the time and being optimized and then decisioned in real time. So I think, versus maybe other less advanced industries, more traditional industries, there won't be such a night and day shift. But obviously, I think for agencies, that's where the biggest challenge is. For ad tech companies, I think it's generally a kind of net benefit. I think the media agencies and creative agencies, that's where the real challenge is, because they have huge teams, tens, if not hundreds of thousands of people that they generally hire out to clients on a kind of cost plus basis as headcount. But they're going to, come under increasing pressure to, massively reduce those teams, be a lot more efficient. But then, they need to think about a whole new revenue model, which leads towards, more outcomes and rev share, profit share with their clients probably, and or more of a consultative kind of business model. But I think, for a lot of the ad tech companies, they're going to be able to adopt it, and whether that's obviously on kind of creative or media buying, media planning, types of measurement. We are seeing a lot of interesting companies coming through. We have a lot of companies that are really data businesses in our portfolio, and will be in the Fund 2 portfolio, where they have proprietary data. And we think that those, proprietary data vendors are going to be very valuable to the larger LLMs and bigger kind of ad tech acquirers, because ultimately the success of their own, algorithms and then AI capability is only going to be as good as the data that's fed into it. So, we're investing in quite a few what we call proprietary signal vendors who have some sort of unique capability to differentiate the LLMs that otherwise might all start to look quite commoditized. The point maybe to say on AI is just around that search traffic referral piece. And that's going to be super interesting. I'm sure you're the same, but I'm already using ChatGPT for most of my kind of search queries rather than Google. And I think, ultimately, we will see a slow decline of display advertising across kind of the broader publisher base, because people will just, get a lot of the information. So yes, we are also seeing new companies coming through that are looking to monetize those, search results within ChatGPT, Perplexity, etc. So we'll definitely be keeping an eye on that trend.